Hello everyone and welcome back. My name's dustinkreis and today we're doing something a little bit different. If you're new to this channel, new to watching me, primarily this is a video game channel, which those are a dime a dozen. So every now and then I try to do something different, like today, and I try to talk about movies, books, or in this case music. And of course, if you've seen the title, you know what we're talking about today. We're going to be talking about Marilyn Manson's Born Villain. And I'll also be talking a little bit more about Marilyn Manson, the band itself, him, and sort of my history with him. This might be a new segment I do every now and then, where I pick a band and I just talk about them, but I'm going to be mainly focused on Born Villain here. Just picked it up this morning. I've spun it twice now, and I have to say, I'm really happy with this album. The last two albums I couldn't say that about. It always felt like something was off, and that was Eat Me, Drink Me, and High End of Low. They sounded all right, but in terms of a Marilyn Manson album, it was lacking something that I needed to have from him. And I'm really happy to say that Born Villain has brought back that Marilyn Manson feel. This feels like the Marilyn Manson of the late 90s. And yeah, I mean, I've been following this album for about 2 years now, since it was announced in 2010. And, you know, the sort of the teaser trailer where it took segments of Hey Cruel World on it. And then, of course, there was the big Born Villain trailer that was directed by Shia LaBeouf that used snippets of Overneath the Path of Misery. And then, of course, the No Reflection video, which just came out not too long ago. And everything that has led up to this album, I have just been thoroughly impressed with. It really feels like he's hungry again. He's hungry, and he wants his career back, which, you know, I couldn't really say about him in years past. You know, there was always sort of it just, I don't know. There's just a laziness, I guess, to the last couple albums. And don't get me wrong, there's songs I really enjoy on Eat Me, Drink Me, and there's songs I really enjoy on High End of Low. But when you stack them up next to the rest of his career, the rest of their career, I should say, as the band, it's just not where it was. You know what I mean? You could definitely tell that the juices have sort of dried up a little bit. But I'm glad to say that Born Villain is here, and it is juicy. Let's talk a little bit about the album art, because this is something I really enjoy about buying physical CDs. I know all you kids out there like your MP3s and your iPods and your Hey Hey Heys, but CDs and especially vinyl, when everything finally goes complete MP3 and we're left with nothing but you know, digital downloads, hopefully they still continue to press vinyl, because I will then begin to buy all of my albums in vinyl. But yeah, look at this album art, guys. I mean, this is like the best album art of a Manson album since definitely since Hollywood, and even that wasn't that great. Probably Mechanical Animals. When this was announced as the album art, I was overjoyed with this. It's just so stark and kind of futuristic looking in a way, and you know, minimal. It's very minimalist. This the album art is for this, which, you know, if you know anything about Marilyn Manson, he's hardly ever a minimalist. So, you know, so I was really overjoyed with that. And on the back here, of course, we have the big double M's. That's probably the only thing you can see there. But we have the song titles sort of cascading down like the code in the Matrix. And then we open up the flap here. Again, very minimal. Just got another kind of bleached out picture of Marilyn Manson there. And then over here it just says lyrics at bornvillain.com. So you have to go online to read the lyrics. And then finally, you open up that last flap, nothing but black there. The CD, let me get it the correct way there, has the Celebritarian cross on it, which, you know, maybe this, I haven't found a theme in this album yet, but maybe this is supposed to be finally the Celebritarian album that he was going to make, which the Celebritarian cross is sort of a little bit of a doctored cross of Lorraine, and that was supposed to be the next era after Golden Age of Grotesque, which is the Celebritarian era, where you know, with the whole idea of celebritarianism is that we worship dead celebrities, and you know, you think about it and you think, oh, that's a silly idea, but it's really true. We kind of do. But anyway, yes, back to the album. Yes. This is the first Marilyn Manson album in a long time that has that dark groove again. And one of the weird things you can say about Marilyn Manson music, whenever you think of Marilyn Manson, you always usually think like industrial metal and things like that. But his songs are really kind of dance-oriented almost. Like there's always this really good beat to it. You know, the percussion section of the band was always a really strong point. You know, think back to like Beautiful People and Dope Hat and things like that. They always had really strong a really strong groove to them, almost danceable in a lot of ways. You know, especially in the Mechanical Animals era with like Rock is Dead and I'm drawing blanks on song titles now. I should have them all in front of me here. But anyway, his music always had this sort of dark groove and this danceability to it. And with High End of Low and with Eat Me, Drink Me, it was still kind of there a little bit, but it didn't feel quite right. You know what I mean? And so it's nice to have that back here. Some of the highlights off of the album, of course, there's No Reflection, the big single that everyone's calling a comeback single. But some of my favorite songs, of course, are Overneath the Path of Misery. I think that's when I heard that on the Born Villain trailer, I was just blown away by that. I was like, now that is Marilyn Manson. I really like Flowers of Evil, Children of Cain, and specifically Murders Are Getting Prettier All the Time. Really sounds like a nice throwback to the Antichrist Superstar era. But I'm telling you what, guys, the last 3 songs on this album, Born Villain and Breaking the Same Old Ground, and then finally the cover of You're So Vain by Carly Simon. Those are really quite awesome. In fact, I would almost say Breaking the Same Old Ground is one of the best Marilyn Manson songs ever. Like, if the next album goes in that direction, I am entirely happy with it. But yeah, the song Born Villain is just, I don't know, it's just awesome. I don't know how to really put it in other words than that. It's just awesome. And when I first heard the cover, or that he was going to do a cover of You're So Vain, I was like, come on. Alright, come on. What are you doing? And then I heard it. And it's not as good as, say, like the cover of Sweet Dreams or the cover of I'll Put a Spell on You off the Smells Like Children EP. But it's close. It's really nice because, the early covers that Manson did were always really interesting. And then once it got to like Tainted Love and Personal Jesus, it was like, okay, they're not really different from the original song. So it's nice to see him take You're So Vain and kind of, put that Manson spin on it like he used to do. So I was actually really impressed with it. And interestingly enough, the song features Johnny Depp on guitar. So that's kind of neat. But anyway, yeah, like I'm really, really enjoying this album. And like I said, I have been a Marilyn Manson fan since the Sweet Dreams video. And, people, when you tell people nowadays that you're a Marilyn Manson fan, they kind of almost snicker at you. Because, it's just like, you look at the makeup and like all of the antics that he does, and I mean, at one point in time, I remember like specifically, back in the day when Antichrist Superstar came out, people were terrified of this man, and my parents forbade me from buying the album Antichrist Superstar. I was forbidden from buying it. But of course, when I got to the mall, I would sneak off, and I had my own money from mowing yards, and I went and I bought Antichrist Superstar, and I hid it. And of course, when I first listened to that album, it terrified me because it was a more innocent time back then. I think that's one thing I always associate with Marilyn Manson is innocence, because when you look at, especially now, if you go back and listen to Antichrist Superstar and you listen to it and you think about it, and you go, people were scared of this. That's just how innocent things were back in 1996. You know what I mean? But I just remember thinking that it is such an awesome album, and it is one of my favorite albums of all time. Although, on the whole, I do say my favorite Manson album of all time is Mechanical Animals. Yeah, it's just You know, and I grew up with this. And the important thing to me about Marilyn Manson was always that he presented you with ideas. And that's one of the things, that's the reason for the title, Born Villain, is that he's arguing that the most important character in a story is always the villain. And that's in a lot of cases true, because the villain is a catalyst for change. And if you didn't have a villain, you know, there would be no story there. It'd be like the hero just standing around going, I'm here to protect you from nothing. So, you know, when you look at the Bible, you know, and I've read the Bible, the most interesting character to me was always Lucifer, because, you know, and a lot of Lucifer, you know, you didn't get until much later, much later in my growing up when I read Paradise Lost. But Lucifer was always sort of the more interesting character, because he was the one that lost everything, and he was the one that you really learned from, you know. You know, you don't learn, what you learn from Jesus is that, hey, if you're good, good things will happen to you. Okay, well, that's not really, in the human mind, that's not really, there's no weight to that in the human mind, you know. But you look at Lucifer and you say, hey, he went up against God and got the shit kicked out of him. Okay, that makes sense now. So for me, in the Bible, which, you know, I don't necessarily subscribe to anyway, I always found the idea of Satan and Lucifer to be a much more interesting character, even though, let's not get into it. Let's not get into religion, because I'll start talking about how I think God and Satan are the same thing. You know, Janus, the two-faced God, two sides of the same coin. Blah 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 blah. Let's not get into that, because then we'll be here all day, and we'll just we'll start fighting in the comments section. Let's not do that. But anyway, he always got me thinking about things, and the albums were always about something. You know, Portrait of the American Family was a view on sort of childhood innocence and its loss. You know, Antichrist Superstar was about the allure of power and how it ultimately destroys everything you love. You know, and it ends on the line, when all of your wishes are granted, many of your dreams will be destroyed. It's the allure and the destructive ability of power. Mechanical Animals was about, you know, sort of the emptiness that we all face. And, you know, it came at a time when, like, medication became a very large thing. And, you know, even today we still have it, you know. People are on all these different medicines, all these different drugs, but yet these drugs over here you can't have. You can't have these drugs over... It's like the Bill Hicks joke. You know, anything that you have that would open your mind and make you think, you can't have those. But you can have all these ones over here, like alcohol, that do nothing for you. And, you know, about the... So it's really... I think Mechanical Animals is one of his most subtle albums, and probably one of his, you know, it just went over everyone's head when it came out, because, like, the Manson fans were like, oh, he's sold out. But anyway, and then you get to Hollywood, where it's about sort of our obsessions in America, which are guns, God, and government. And, you know, how they intertwine and how they interact with each other, and sort of our lust in this country for violence. And if you don't believe we have a lust in this country for violence, look at how easy you can watch violent stuff on the television, but yet if a nipple slips, it's like a huge deal. You know, you can't watch any sex, but you can watch somebody get their head blown off. So, yeah. But anyway, you know, it always brought something to the table. And then once it stopped bringing something to the table, which was around the golden age of grotesque, where the theme was art itself and sort of decadence and things like that. And, you know, it just kind of lost the plot there. You know, when he was making albums about social ideas, he was on top. Bam, right there. But then once he started getting into, like, sort of what he called the celebrity era, where he was basically just kind of trading on his name and stuff, that's where he kind of lost the plot. So the 2000s were not a very good year, or a good decade for Marilyn Manson. You know, he got derailed by a couple things. You know, I was a child of Columbine. I was a sophomore in high school when that happened. You know, I was in Ohio, of course, and that was all the way out in Colorado. But man, did that go crazy? Because I distinctly remember one day my high school was a normal, everyday high school. And then, you know, after that happened, the next day school was in session, it was lockdown, man. And you couldn't wear shirts that had skulls or crosses or, you know, anything. Like, it was so outrageous. My school never got metal detectors, but man, it felt like it was one step away. And that really derailed him in a lot of ways. It was none of it was his fault, of course, because you know, I listened to his music. I played violent video games. I didn't go shoot it at my school, so obviously that's not the reason. But yeah, and then the other thing that really kind of derailed his career that he didn't have anything to do with was September 11th, because you know, a lot of his career was like built up this idea of he's the boogeyman and all this sort of silly stuff. But how can you go on with this sort of theater of evil once you know, you have real evil people out there blowing up buildings and killing people? You know, it's kind of a moot point. So those two things kind of really derailed him. But I will always remember that that late '90s period, because the ideas that he presented in his albums really got me thinking about things. You know, like with Antichrist Superstar, like the nature of power. You know, and how it ultimately corrupts you. Mechanical Animals, you know, this drug versus that drug. Is there any real difference, you know? One of the big things that I always remember, and it always stick with me, is, you know, I live in the Midwest. And the Midwest is, you know, typically not known for its more progressive ideals. I'm trying to make up a new word there. And, you know, it's not like overt racism and bigotism, but there is just like there's an unease with anything that's different out here. And you know, while I wasn't grown up and people didn't tell me that like homosexuality was bad and all this stuff, but it was kind of, you know, subtly ingrained in you that, oh, they're different. And I remember very distinctly watching the Long Hard Road Out of Hell video, which I'll put a link to the No Reflection video so you guys can check out the new stuff, and I'll put a link to Long Hard Road Out of Hell, because I think it's definitely one of his best videos. But I remember watching this, and that was that '97, so I'd have been like 15 years old, and I remember watching it, and you know, it's a very sexually driven video. You know, Manson's dressed up very femininely, and he actually would make quite a good-looking woman in that video. But I remember watching the video, and like it didn't like arouse me. There was no arousal or anything, but it did excite me. I was excited by it as a young kid, because you know, your hormones are going and all this stuff, and you know, it got me thinking. I'm like, wait a minute, I like women. Never a question of it. You know, it's never been a question of that. I like women. But yet, this video is exciting me. And that's basically where, you know, I sort of formulated my opinion that deep down inside, everyone is a little bit gay. Okay? I really truly believe that. I think women get away with it easier. But deep down inside, everyone is a little bit gay. And I'll tell you who the gayest people are. The gayest people are not drag queens or, you know, the really big, you know, flamboyant people. Those are not the gayest people. The gayest people are these, you know, manly men who will deny it up and down, and anytime you talk about anything with a penis, they turn 3 shades of green. Those are the gayest people out there. You know, people hide what they are by, you know, going very far to the opposite thing. But I really do believe that deep down inside, everyone is a little bit gay. And it really got me thinking about, you know, right and wrong, morals. You know, do we need to judge these people? You know, they're just trying to live their lives? You know, and it was an amazing thing, because you know, people look at Marilyn Manson as an extremely negative act. I look at him as a very positive act. Like in my formative years, he got me thinking about so many different things, especially like with Hollywood and the reaction to Columbine and violence. You know, all of us kids knew what the real cause of Columbine was. And all the parents are like, oh, video games are bad, music, oh, these movies. That's not it. The kids had problems, okay? Anyway, I got really off topic there. but I wanted to share some, why I enjoy Marilyn Manson so much. And getting back to this, I can't find a theme in it like you would have with Antichrist or Mechanical Animals or Hollywood. So, but I'm really looking forward to people listening to the album and looking into it and finding the theme in it. But that being said, definitely one of his best albums in years. And it's so focused, and there's so much energy in it. And I'm actually going to be seeing him live in Pittsburgh here on May 5th, which is Cinco de Mayo, and I'm a little worried that he might he might get drunk and not do such a great performance. But maybe everything I've seen of the shows up till now has really, except for a few of the Australian shows, has really made me excited to go see him live, because I think he's finally taken it seriously again. There's about 4 years there where he was just kind of going through the motions, and I really feel like he's got his hunger back, and the music is definitely there. Dark grooves, almost kind of an electronic feel on some of the songs. Really great stuff. Is it as good as the Triptych era? No. I don't think he will ever be able to get back to the Triptych era. I really hope he can, but the Triptych era is just on such a high pedestal of creativity that I really don't know if he can ever get back up there. But if one song kind of proves that there is hope, Breaking the Same Old Ground it's just a fantastic song. And I'm so happy that this album came out. And there's tons of copies of it out, guys. I was really worried at being on Cooking Vinyl, which is a smaller label, that there wouldn't be that many copies out. But both FYE and Hot Topic both have plenty of copies. So definitely, if you're into this kind of stuff, check out the No Reflection video. Check out the Long Hard Road Out of Hell video. Keep your kids away from the screen unless you want them to, think. Yeah, it's glad to see Marilyn Manson back. I'm really happy that he's still around. And actually, we're kind of in a mid to late 90s renaissance here in a lot of ways, because Garbage is coming out with a new album. I'm really excited for that. I listened to the song Blood for Poppies. I thought it was really great. I know a lot of people are having problems with it, but I thought it was really quite excellent. Tool's back into the studio working on stuff, so I don't know if that'll be out this year, but it's definitely time for them to release another album. I wanted to say there was another band that was getting ready to release an album that was a big 90s band. I don't know. But yeah. So hopefully this was not too bad for you guys. Like I said, my channel is primarily a video game channel, and that's primarily what people subscribe to me for. So when I do these sort of off-topic videos, it doesn't seem like they get as much attention as the video game stuff. So hopefully this wasn't too bad for you guys watching it. The only other album I've really picked up here, and I just picked it up also today, was Stephen Malkmus and the Jicks' Mirror Traffic, which I'm a huge Pavement fan and a huge Stephen Malkmus fan. I never got into Preston School of Industry, which was Scott Kennenberg's band. But I finally got around to buying that. I don't know what took me so long, so I'm going to throw that on the old hi-fi while I clean up the game room, because my game room is trashed. So, yeah, guys. Thank you so much for watching. That's all for me. I will see you guys soon. Take care. Keep making your videos. If any of you guys out there are Marilyn Manson fans, let me know what you think of the album and his career. Personally, when he was in the 90s, I think he was untouchable. We can debate the validity of the 2000 decade, but definitely you cannot argue that in the 90s he was a force to be reckoned with. So, yep. Oh, another music thing. Beach Boys. New Beach Boys album. New Beach Boys. Songs and everything. I think that's June or July it's coming out. It's called That's Why God Made the Radio, which I've listened to that song as well. And while I think the lyrics are a little bit hokey, but you're going to get that when you have 70-year-old guys writing songs, while I think that it's hokey, you cannot argue the quality of the vocals and the harmonies in that song. Even though they're 70 plus years old, they're still able to churn out those harmonies, which I don't know how much of that is studio wizardry or them really being able to pump that stuff out. But man, I'm looking forward to that as well. So, all right, I'm really into this video now. Thanks so much, guys. Take care. I'll see you next time.